Welcome to the Queer Geek Cast, episode on anime and manga and other weeb shit. This is season 1.2 because we used to be a podcast, now we are a webcast, yada, yada, yada. If you're listening to all these episodes, you've heard me explain that before. So each season, each episode, we're going to discuss a different geek-related topic related to the LGBTQ plus community. And as I already said, this week is all the weeb stuff. So with me, I've brought my often partner in crime when it comes to that topic. Dee, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, so I'm Dee. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a cosplayer, big fan of anime and manga ever since early childhood. Angel and I do a lot of panels together at local conventions. Most notably, we do the LGBTQ plus panels at QuaiCon and Comic-Con Honolulu. And
Yep, so this is kind of our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So before we launch into the actual topic at hand, I'm going to do this lovely disclaimer because sometimes we have strong opinions and it's good to have a disclaimer about that. So the views expressed on this webcast are those of myself and my guests and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the main website, the Geek Yuri. Also, we try to be rated PG, but we are recorded live and sometimes profanity slips in, so that might happen. Yeah. We will see how that goes. But with that lovely disclaimer out of the way, let's hop right into the topic. I kind of want to start chronologically with us because both of us grew up liking anime and manga.
Yes.
And for me, it was my introduction to the idea that queerness was even an option. And for me, that came with discovering the anime Utena, which a lot of younger people might not even remember that, but it was huge. It was the main character was in a relationship with another woman at some point, and they didn't hide that that's what it was. I was both getting really into anime and manga and starting to discover my sexuality at the same time. So this one dropped right at this intersection of two things in my life, and I got really obsessed with it. And I tried to be subtle about it and not let my mom know that I'm watching stuff that has queer romances. But one of the posters I had on my wall is them romantically embracing, and so it wasn't the most subtle of things, but I tried. And I also, at that time, got really into yaoi because there was more of that available than there were female romances. And it wasn't always the best. We are certainly blessed now, and we'll get into that later. Lots of problems, but it kind of helped me accept myself, I guess. How did it start for you?
So for me, I think the first introduction I had to just kind of queer representation at all in anime and manga was Cardcaptor Sakura, and I got into it because I watched the anime, which if anyone has seen the English dub of Cardcaptors, a mystic adventure, yeah. We used to rent those from Blockbuster, so yeah. But I started reading the manga, and especially the manga is a lot more upfront about the characters, and mainly there's Tomoyo, who's Sakura's best friend, and it's heavily implied that she has a crush on her, she's in love with her. And then there's Sakura's older brother Toya and his friend Yukito, and they're also heavily implied to be in a relationship. I think they might have kissed. I don't know if I'm imagining that or not, but
it's been a while.
Maybe it's been a while. Sitting up on my shelf, I haven't touched it in a while, but so that was my introduction to it, and I didn't start questioning my sexuality until I was older, maybe college age. But looking back, I remember I always felt this connection to Tomoyo, and I'm oh, she's my favorite character who's not Sakura, and I'm yeah, she loves her friend so much. I totally understand that.
In retrospect,
and I'm just looking back in retrospect, I'm hey, wait a minute.
Card Captor Sakura, or as they put it on the English dub, Card Captors, because they needed to have a guy character to appeal to people. Like, that's one of the reasons why they changed it. Oh no, it's a female lead. We gotta change that. But that was one of my first ones too. But I didn't learn until much, much later about the queer undertones, because my only introduction to it was the American like dub that aired on television. Yeah. So I had no idea.
Was I don't even think that was a 4Kids dub. Maybe it was, I'm not sure, but it was very 4Kids-ish with all of the no homo going on.
It was it was on Saturday morning cartoons, maybe? I want to say WB, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, that might be because that's 4Kids' parent company, I think.
Maybe. But yeah, like I had no idea. It was like a decade later and someone's like, yeah, Sakura has a lot of queer undertones. I'm like, oh? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, even Tomoyo's mom is like, she was in love with Sakura's mom.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, mother-daughter, bisexuality, lesbian solidarity.
That's fantastic. So when I was a kid, I kind of already went over, like, I read a lot of BL because there just wasn't much shoujo and like shoujo ai or Yuri available. But this was kind of part of my wider search for queer media. Once I realized that was there, I kind of started hopping around to shows and movies and trying to also be subtle and like rent movies with my mom next to me and like hoping that it wasn't obvious from the cover, like this is a gay thing. But the anime and manga was always the place where like I can sit in the Barnes and Noble and read the manga, and
right.
I had no like oversight. I could be there for hours. I probably damaged some books.
I mean, we've all been there. Are you really a manga fan if you haven't damaged a book in Barnes and Noble for reading it so much?
I remember walking in and there was always dozens of kids sitting around reading the manga. Like, and I don't think any of them ever bought any. I bought like one every like couple months or something. Like,
if I got good grades, I'd get a manga book. So that's probably why I was such a good student. Oh my God, what happened?
They need to start bribing you again.
Yes. Like, Mom, buy me this Nendo. I'll get an A in my class.
That could work. Oh God, don't get me started on Nendos. I'm trying to just keep to pops. But anyway, that's another story for related.
That's a whole other that's another thing.
Most of my pops are like ships though. Anyway. I always gotta buy two. I gotta buy the couples.
Right. No, it's like my two Nendos I have, it's Yuri and Victor, because like
I have Yuri and Victor.
You can't have Yuri and not Victor, or the other way around. It's like this is a set. Do not separate.
Oh man, we're definitely going to talk about that later, though. Yes. I'm trying to keep chronological, but we're going to talk about Yuri on Ice for sure. But kind of going continually through chronology, like besides your first, what was your experience like with LGBTQ themes in anime and manga growing up?
So for me, it was like I didn't really get into like BL or anything, just because the impression I got from it, just from lurking on forums like Gaia Online and stuff, was that and this is so bad, but like I was convinced that all of it was porn. Like I was convinced you couldn't have a yaoi or Yuri series unless it was hardcore porn, and that's sadly that was my main impression, and I was like, I wasn't into that. And I feel like if I had learned like, oh, you can have BL or you can have girls love without having it be explicit, I feel like I would have connected with it at an earlier age. So really, I didn't start connecting with it until, I mean, there was Card Captors, and then I really got into shipping late in my high school years, mainly Hitalia, which, that is, God, that could be an entire another podcast on issues I have with that.
I know, but that has a very big
community. Hitalia and Free was the other one.
Oh,
Free too. Yeah. I think that came out like right around when I got out of high school, but yeah, those were the two. I was like, I got more into shipping before I got into like actual canon series.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I didn't really I went the opposite way. I didn't really get into shipping until like college and after. Like that's when I discovered shipping. I was like canon only, like gotta stick to canon stuff. And those canon options were like Gravitation, which is not the best, I know.
Oh boy.
And Fake, which was good, but I never really liked the art. Fake was really good. It was a New York
I don't think
cop.
I've heard of that one.
It's really good. New York cops. One of them is half Japanese, because if it's a manga, they've got to have at least one character that's like Japanese. Like, I don't know. But it takes place in New York, and like one of them's very out and proud bisexual, like likes anything that walks kind of a thing, which can sometimes be a negative stereotype, but it's not like he's sleeping around or anything. He just thinks everything is beautiful. And
relatable.
Then, and it's actually really cute because they, as their relationship develops, they like take on some orphan kids, and it gets kind of daddy-ish. And I can't remember all the details, but I think they actually end up adopting one, and the other one like has a family somewhere, but we don't really talk about it. I don't remember. It's been years, but it's really cute and sweet. The art is not so great, and there's an OVA anime, which is like one random story from the manga that doesn't make sense without the stories around it. So it never got as much attention as like Gravitation. But it was positive, very explicit though. Like, not the anime, because it's one random story, but the manga, like, was very porny. And I was reading this at like 16, like, like hoping like stop me reading it. I would deal it like out of my backpack to friends at school. Like, I could have gotten
okay, kid, you want to read some yaoi?
Basically, that was how I was. I was the yaoi dealer. Like, and that was one of the ones that was a hot commodity in school because it was like funny. And oh man, looking back, I could have gotten in so much crap. But
yeah, oh my gosh,
super conservative too.
Yeah, I think I was like, when it came to BL, like I thought everything was like, I think the first BL I ever heard of was Junjou Romantica, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll look it up, and I looked it up, and I was like, whoa, like.
That came out, whoa. I think the anime for that came out in like 2008, which was the year I graduated college. But I don't know how long the manga was running, but I did not run into it as a manga until way later. Like, and no, that's not, there's problems. But it's weird because when we were younger, before we had like a standard of like what we wanted out of this, anything was good. It was like, oh, representation. I will eat this up regardless of its problems.
It's like, I want this. I'm like looking at it. I'm like, I want it, but it's like a lot of porn. But it's like I want it, but porn.
Yeah, that never bothered me. For me, a lot of the problems.
Like for me, it like I kind of grew into it. Like I was kind of a late bloomer, so I was like, oh, like when I got around college age, I got more comfortable with reading that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just remember in high school, I'm like I don't know how to
I'm dealing like explicit yaoi out of my back. We're like the complete opposites. Oh, that's fantastic. But yeah, a lot of my issues were like trope based, like the one, I don't even know if it's always like tsundere kind of a character, like and then like the happy one that just loves him so much and will always stick with him even though he's an asshole. So there's my first profanity. I knew it.
Or like, oh, I really hate how like some of them were like especially even fans I hated would do this. They're like, oh, this one's the girl and this one's the guy. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah. When we did a panel on this one time, someone brought up an interesting point that this is not necessarily meant for us. It's meant for a Japanese audience. And that is valid. Like a lot of our criticisms might be coming from, well, they are definitely coming from a different place culturally. But it's really interesting because there has been a shift even in anime and manga. So even with that cultural like difference, like this is not meant for us. We're getting the translations, we're getting it imported. Like this is written in a different culture that we don't necessarily have the context for. Suddenly, even stuff with that context is getting a lot better quality. And I think Yuri on Ice is one of the
oh my god,
ones, which is how we met. But I have always been sort of hesitant about sports anime because I've heard it's a lot of baiting, which again, different culture. Maybe that's not as big of a deal. I don't know. Like, I'm not in that context. But I decided I didn't want to like get into sports anime because of that. But then people are like, no, Yuri on Ice is different. Like, you gotta watch it. Like, I think you're actually gonna do it. I'm like, okay. So I started watching episode like 3, I think. Like, I started from the beginning, but around episode 3 is when I marathoned the first few episodes and started watching. And then it like actually did it.
Yeah.
They kissed. They exchanged rings in a church. They like basically, in not so many words, are engaged to be married. Like, and some people are like, oh, it's not explicitly said on screen, but like, it's what anime are they talking?
Like, I forgot who I was talking about. I was like talking to some guy at, I think it was at one of my school's anime clubs, and he was like, no, I think, they're just friends, just they're being bros. And I'm like, okay, so would you as a straight man exchange promise rings in a church with your best male friend? And he was like, nah. And I'm like, why? And he's like, oh, wait. Because he was about to say, oh, that's gay. And I was like,
see? Oh, God. But yeah, Yuri on Ice is what prompted me to start doing panels at conventions. And in the very first panel I ever did,
I was there. I was a Yuri cosplayer. I was a female Yuri cosplayer. Yeah. And I kind of started watching around the same time as you, around episode 3, because my friends were fans. One of my friends, Nina, she's I think it was Sayo. Yeah, she's one of Sayo's fans, and she heard she was doing this Yuri on Ice, this figure skating anime, and she was like there from the beginning. She's like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this. And then she kind of dragged me and our other friend, Alana, into it, and we were all watching together, shipping Victory, and like we on the other hand did not see it coming. Like, we were like, I remember like watching episode, what was it? The episode with the kiss. I remember like watching it in my room, and then the kiss is happening, and I just remember screaming. I was just like quietly screaming to myself. Because I was like, I can't believe this. They didn't market it as BL, but they included a same-sex relationship. And that was just like, that kind of blew my mind, because I'm like, I don't think that really happened before.
I don't think so either, yeah.
Yeah, and and the series, it was one of the things that got me back into cosplaying, and actually, and then you invited me to be on the panel with you the following year, and actually it also got me into kind of playing around with gender a little bit and cosplaying male characters. That was kind of my jumping point, was cosplaying as Yuri.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It brought me back into the anime fold, because I stepped away from anime for probably like about a decade. Like, when I graduated high school, I kind of stopped like in college. That's why I never really got into Junjou Romantica, because it came out while I was in college. And then about a year or so before Yuri on Ice premiered, I started revisiting all the yaoi that I had read and new yaoi titles that I'd never heard of before. Like Number 6, which is an anime. I don't think it has a manga, but like I might have misspoken, but I've never read it. And just all these other things. And so it came out at a time where I wanted to specifically explore that stuff, but was like going through it like with my new lens, because I had gotten a film degree in that time here, in that decade where I stepped away. I'd gotten a film degree and became highly critical of the media I consume. So looking at it all, I'm like, yeah, I was really into this shit, but oh man, like there's a lot of problems here. Like, and then here comes like
problematic babe. Yeah.
Holy crap. So, and also I try not to bring non-geek stuff into it, but it came out at a good time as far as like United States culture, because we were just running up to the 2016 election.
Oh boy.
And then through it. So everyone was stressed out. Everyone was like dealing with a lot of crap. And then we had this delightfully queer anime with high quality music, high quality animation, a respectful queer couple, And it was just like this happy, beautiful, wonderful thing to sink into. So
yeah. And slightly off topic, but with Leo, who was representing America in the anime, I was like, you know, I just loved that they had a Hispanic American character representing the United States instead of the typical blonde haired, blue eyes. And that's slightly off topic, but you know, in terms of representation, I was like, yes, I love this.
Yes. It all around lots of great stuff.
Yes. Yuri on Ice was just representation wise, like, and mental health, also very good.
Yeah. That was around that time where I started really getting into the psychology of fandom too. And I wrote a piece back then called Don't Feel Ashamed of, you know, I can't remember the title of it, but basically enjoying your media. And I used like how I was using Yuri on Ice to kind of cope with like the election and all that. And now I've written that huge 2,000 word article about the psychology of
hyperfixation. Yes, I've read that.
So
I feel validated by that.
Right? And I got a psychologist to chime in. It's like, yes. I like put a call out like I need fandom friendly psychologist, and I found one, and I actually already knew her, so it was great. But yeah, thank God for Yuri on Ice.
Thank you.
But in those 3 years since then, can you believe it's been 3 years?
Oh my goodness.
Right? Oh my God.
Yeah, oh my God.
In the 3 years since then, there's been even more. Yes. I want to talk about our current hyperfixation, which is the one that spawned my hyperfixation article this year. I'm sensing a pattern with my hyperfixation. Gay anime. Promare.
Promare. Oh, Promare.
Oh my God. So Promare, from Studio Trigger, which is a very well-known studio. They usually do, and I hate gendering media, but they usually do things that are aimed at boys, you know, kind of a thing, kind of badass.
Like the shonen kind of stuff.
Yeah, which again, I hate it, but contextually it's important to mention who it's aimed towards. And we get this really interesting story with lots of pink in it. Like they're not afraid to say pink is not a gendered color, and this is a character about two guys, and yet there's pink flames everywhere. One of the guys, pink triangles, which is a symbol for the queer community dating all the way back to the 1930s, 40s, something like that. And spoiler alert, but there is a kiss. But within the context, people like to dismiss it just like they like to dismiss Yuri on Ice, where it's, oh, he was giving him CPR. But like...
Well, he didn't have to, you know... Well, the whole thing was, oh, I have to transfer this flame of life to you. It's like, you didn't have to use your mouth for it.
Right.
Could have just been in his throat. Like...
Yeah. And also on top of that, like, they shared a mech, which has... I haven't consumed a lot of mech anime. Of course, every time I say that and I start reflecting on all the mech I have consumed, I realize I kind of do. But not that Pacific Rim's an anime, but in Pacific Rim, being drift compatible with somebody is a huge deal. It like siblings are drift compatible, and then the main characters of this have a deep connection, which some people read as romantic, in Pacific Rim. So even that part where they pilot a mech where they basically have to be psychically in tune can be read romantically. Of course, people are gonna be like, you're reading too much into it, but like, I don't know, how much mech anime do you watch? Like, you know, like,
it's like, at what point does the subtext just become text? Like, it's
and even the official art for it is like them head to head, like
and I think somebody found like the uncropped version, and it's like almost crotch to crotch too. It's like really close. It's like, wow.
There's one official art of Leo sitting between Gallo's legs. Like, that's official art. And at first I thought that was trippy fan art, and no, like, it's official. God help. I put a Promare thing on my Secret Santa list at work. God help them if they Google it. They're going to get so much like corny fan art. Don't Google it. Just click the link to the thing I want, please, coworker.
Oh my god. Promare is just, it's just so good. Like, I just love it. Love Leo, love Gallo. And their mech's name it was like Leo de Gallo or Gallo de Leon or something. Like,
I think they even switched it.
Their ship name is their mech.
Right. They ship names themselves. They gave it to themselves. God, it's so good. We originally saw it, I think it was October, or was it September when it came out? Maybe September. I think
it was October.
Oh, maybe
September. I don't know.
It was a while ago. And then they're doing a special screening again for one day only, one screening. We got tickets to that.
They're doing one more. They're doing one more Tuesday.
I saw that. Yeah. But we're going to go
see. I don't know if I'm going to that one because I'm like, it is a Tuesday night, but it is the English dub, which I have not seen yet.
I might pass that just because I don't do dubs. Yeah. I'm one of those.
I might go just because I have some friends from college who I think are going, but
do it.
Yeah, that one's up.
Drag more in.
I mean, yeah, I'm not like, well, I'm kind of jealous of, I have an online friend who's seen it like 13 times, and I'm just like, jealous.
Right. Yeah. I was in a same Discord you're in, where like people were like, had seen it that many times. It's just like, oh my God. I want to see it again. I don't think it comes out like on DVD, not that I even have a DVD player, but like I'm assuming if it's on DVD, it'll stream somewhere. I don't think it comes out until the spring, like February, March, April, something like that. So
and even then, I mean, an American DVD versus like a Japanese DVD is, I think it's different. So
so yeah, you're right. That's the Japanese one specifically. We don't know when it'll come to America. I'm hoping that somebody like Crunchyroll or something picks it up to stream, or even freaking Netflix. Like, come on, Netflix. Your Disney Plus is kicking your ass right now. Like, get this, it'll help. It'll keep you around. Because it deserves a wider audience than what it has right now, because it was only playing in a few screens, like for a couple of weeks, and a couple of weeks was the extended time frame. Like,
and even then, I think like on our whole island, I think there's like 1 or 2 theaters out of like dozens. So
we had one.
And then there's like states, and then there's like states on the mainland that are like not even. I mean, there's countries where it wasn't even shown, and then there's states on the mainland where it wasn't even shown. So
I have a friend in Texas that drove like 2 hours to get to a theater for it. And of course, for Texans, that's probably not too big. For us out here, where 2 hours, we've looped the island. Well, not
pretty much. You've driven into the ocean at that point.
So, yeah. My goodness. Oh, another one. The one that preceded Promare. Given. Oh my God. So Given is another positive representation. It's about a band, which again, when it comes to like music anime, I'm just like, never really into that, but it's gay, so here I am. Like, and it's really heartbreaking and beautifully written. Mafuyu is just such a tragic character. And Ritsuka is like the gifted guitarist who teaches him how to play guitar. And it's just this delicately written story where it confronts sexuality up front, like openly, like a character like Ritsuka goes through a moment where he wonders if something's wrong with him because he realizes he's in love with Mafuyu. And like, there's this open, honest, beautiful conversation about it, which I've never seen in anything before. Like, it's, well, I mean, like, specifically this medium, anime and manga, like, even yaoi, like, doesn't talk about discovering one's sexuality too often. So that moment was super refreshing. And I dived into the manga afterwards.
I didn't know there was a manga.
Yes, there is.
Oh my God, I need to read that like right away.
Do it, because it's really good. And the movie is going to come out, and it's going to focus on the other couple. So, but definitely read the manga. It's really, really good. And it's not too much further along, which makes me worry, because whenever an anime starts to catch up with a manga, it's like danger. Like, like he hasn't even written the next song yet, which the whole first season is him writing one song, and then he wants to write another one, and it's not done in the manga. So, or at least what was available to me. It's possible that I might not have access to everything. So.
Yeah, because there is that delay with people translating and scanning.
Yeah, and I hate to admit that I do read scanlations, but I do purchase when I can, but not everything gets over to us in a timely manner. Thank God for Crunchyroll, at least subbing and dubbing things in a timely manner, so that we have a nice legal option for that. Manga, we don't quite have it there yet. We don't have like super timely translations.
Yeah, and I don't know of any like sites or even apps that I could even recommend that are not illegal. Yeah. And then there was one more thing I wanted to talk about for in terms of series, which is Sada Zanmai, which is something I watched, and I don't think you've watched it.
No.
It's people know it as the Kappa butt stuff anime. Because, well, in the context of Japanese culture, kappas, they steal kind of your shiriko dama, your like soul orb thing through your butt. So it's a series about kappas, and it's the same guy who did Utena, who directed Utena. So it's kind of on that level of like, what the hell is happening? Like, and just metaphors everywhere. Like, but there are 3 characters who are shown to specifically be gay. There's Enta, who's one of the 3 main boys, or not, was it Enta? Yeah. I think his name's Enta. I might be getting the name mixed up, but I'm pretty sure his name is Enta. It's the glasses boy. And he's in love with the main character. And he actually kisses him at one point when he's asleep. And I've never seen really a series that's like showing this is a boy and he's clearly like a child in middle school and he's in love with his best friend. And it's they kind of have like these moments where it's like, he's kind of like, oh, should I feel ashamed of this? Like, I have these thoughts about him that are not pure, and like, how do I deal with this? And then there's the 2 cop characters who are shown to be a couple. And without giving too much away, it's kind of, their relationship's kind of not really, a little bit tragic, I guess, with what's going on, because one of them can't tell the other one, I love you, for kind of plot reasons, because he'll die. And then the other one's like, he wants to hear that he loves him, and then, finally he says it, and stuff happens. But it's like, and then in the Japanese dub, he actually is singing the song as he's walking back to their little cop, I don't know, like the police box thing that they have in Japan. He's like singing like, the 2 of us are a couple, we're a couple. I think they changed it in English, though. I don't know why they do this all the time with like the English. Well, I can guess why, but they changed it in English, so he's not saying couple anymore. He's just like, oh, the 2 of us, blah, blah, blah. Did
they change it in dub or sub or both?
In sub, it actually says couple.
Okay.
In dub, I haven't watched the full episode, but I think I saw a clip, and he didn't say the word couple. Like, I don't remember what he said, but it wasn't couple.
I want to take back my earlier recommendation that Netflix gets Promare, because Netflix has a kerfuffle with Evangelion re-subtitling it so that it's less gay.
Gala's going to be worthy of Leo's grace or something.
Yeah, right? So in the last like 2 or 3 episodes of Evangelion, which by the way are the trippiest things I've ever seen ever. My God. I'm getting like Evangelion like war flashbacks right now just thinking about those episodes. But anyway, there's a character that very clearly has romantic feelings for the protagonist, but like they completely resubbed it like, you are worthy of my grace, instead of whatever he actually said, which I only watched it when it got put on Netflix, so I've never experienced the ultra gay version of it. But okay, Netflix shouldn't maybe get premiered.
I'm trying to remember if that was like the Japanese, that was like the literal translation was like he was saying he loves him, or if it could go either way, and then they just went to the worthy of the grace thing instead of the love thing. But
there was a translator that stepped in and defended the decision, so it's very possible that it was a translation that could have been ambiguous. And strangely enough, the older translations of it were gayer, and that's like usually the opposite. Like usually we would get things heavily censored in the 90s and early 2000s, like Cardcaptor Sakura, like Sailor freaking Moon, like was Cousin.
Actually, that didn't make it less gay. That just made it
incestuously gay. So that's weird.
Yeah, they changed the two of the villains were two men. They changed one of them to a girl.
Right, gotta de-gayify.
And I also remember thinking, wow, this girl looks really masculine. And like later, I was like, oh wait, that was actually a guy. They changed it because I don't know. Well, no, I do know. I don't know why I keep saying I don't know. It's like I do know why they do these things. I don't like it
though. But anyway, that's a weird situation of it de-gaying in the future instead of getting gayer as things go on. But going forward, I'm not sure if you heard this because I literally just saw it on Twitter like 2 days ago. I didn't even have time to put in a note about this, but I know that you like I don't know if it was an anime or manga, but Wandering Sun, right?
Yes, yes.
The creator of it is coming out with a new one, not related to Wandering Sun, but they're coming out with a different story in 2020. And I don't know if it's based on a manga. I didn't write any notes on this. I quickly Googled it while we were talking. But it's called Happy Go Lucky Days. It looks like a theatrical film. Let me see. But people have high hopes for it being quite queer, which, considering it's from the same creator as Wandering Sun, is a strong possibility. And I don't know if they're basing this off if it was like a manga and they know that was queer, or if they're just hoping that it is. Let's see.
I haven't heard anything. Here's
a little snippet. Told in a series of vignettes, Happy Go Lucky Days focuses on short stories of everyday life and love, such as a person attending an ex-lover's wedding, a student developing a crush on a teacher, or childhood friends reuniting as adults and discovering how much they've changed. The film will receive a limited theatrical release in Japan in the early summer of 2019. Oh, so it was already out. So that might be why people are saying it's super gay. And then it comes to us, I guess, in 2020. It was in the
I'm looking at the Wikipedia. Well, I'm looking at Wikipedia. It's set to premiere in early summer 2020. Yeah.
So if people are chattering about it being super queer, then I will trust their chatter because some people have already seen it. So.
Oh yeah, and the manga's been out since 2002, according to this.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so that. Although interesting, the magazine it ran in is Manga Erotics F. So. And I'm looking at the cover, and there's a guy tied up.
Wow.
With a girl on his lap. So.
Oh lordy!
I mean, I would like it if they just. I mean, the whole thing doesn't have to be queer, but just some queer rep would be great.
Yeah, sounds like it's a
I would, and I would. On the flip side of that, I'd be so disappointed if the creator of Wandering Sun has a romance, basically anthology with no queer rep.
And since we're talking about it so much, and you and I both know what it is, can you explain to the people watching this what Wandering Suns is? Because I kind of skipped over that.
All right, right. So Wandering Sun. God, it's been a while since I've watched it, but basically it's following this, despite the name, it's following a trans girl, and I believe she's in either middle school or high school, and then her friend who's a trans boy, but like is presenting as a girl, and then likewise she's presenting as a boy, and it's kind of just about just sort of growing into like, who am I? Like, what is my gender? What is gender? Like that type of thing. And it's one of the few, actually, I'm trying to think of another series that has kind of a positive trans representation as like the central theme. And I really can't think of one. I don't know if there's one out there in terms of anime and manga.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
Like not with it as a central theme.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also correction. There's also oh, shoot, what is it called? There's that other manga. I can't remember the name, but it's about like a group of queer people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like the gay high school boy and the asexual woman. Oh shoot.
So familiar. Yeah. I can't recall either, but that sounds super familiar. But anyway, that's why we have high hopes for this. Like, I've never read
Shimanami Tasogore.
Oh, there we go.
Tasogore, that's what it is. I was like, English? No, Japanese. Shimanami Tasogore. Yes, I highly recommend that one. That one has, and actually that one I think just got translated into English this year, and that's, as far as I know, that's the only manga I've read that is written by a non-binary mangaka.
Wow.
The mangaka specifically identifies themselves on Twitter as being X-gender. So, wow. And I think they are possibly the only mangaka that is non-binary. I mean, there are probably others, but in terms of popular mangaka, I think they might be the only one.
Wow. I mean, I'm sure when you like get outside of popularity, there's a lot, because artists sometimes can be a little bit more open about those things. But when it comes to mainstream, like popular ones, they, right? You said X-gender.
X-gender. Yeah.
Probably one of the only ones. That's super cool.
Oh yeah,
I've also never heard the term X-gender, so that's a new one.
Yeah, I think it might be what they use in Japan, or that could just be how that person identifies themselves. Like, I mean, gender is whatever you want it to be. Like,
that's super cool. So we have, basically, to sum up our anime manga experience, we started with kind of crappy representation, but taking anything we can. And then we started to get better representation that has helped us through these crappy 3 years of life that we've experienced. And then our future looks bright because of the potential new series by the creator of Wandering Sun. So the future looks bright. Are there any others that we can think of that are coming out? I think I saw something for Junjou Romantica, but I'm going to ignore that.
Oh boy. Oh man.
I think Crunchyroll tweeted like coming soon, and it was like a picture from Junjou Romantica, but I think they called it like Sekaiichi Hatsukoi, which is the same universe. I didn't bother correcting them because I just like snappily like tweeted at them like, "Oh God, no more Junjou Romantica." Like,
that's actually another good thing that's kind of going on in terms of trends in the anime and manga community. It's like not just Western fans, but even Japanese fans, we can now be more critical and more demanding of what type of representation we get. And and then we've got like was it I think it's Kamatani Sensei, I can't remember, but that X-gender mangaka, like we've got mangaka and we've got creators who are queer, like starting again there, so we can be more critical of what is coming out.
You know, I'm kind of veering slightly off of the manga and anime stuff, but I did say this was general weeb stuff, so I'm going to be talking specifically about Japan, and specifically the most recent season of Queer Eye, which
mixed reactions.
There are mixed reactions, because on the one hand you have 5 Western people coming in and kind of putting that lens on Japan, and you know, they listen to the cultural differences, but then encourage them to push past them, which some people can view it as positive, and some people can view it as Westerners just coming in and kind of bossing around the Japanese people. And I've watched all the episodes, and I don't know, and would love to hear a Japanese person's opinions on it. But one positive thing that came out of it is one of the people they give a makeover, like to like not just physical makeover, but the life makeover that Queer Eye does, was a gay Japanese man. And so we did get a glimpse into the queer community in Japan, which, as much media as I consume from Japan, specifically queer media, I'm never quite sure how much of it is accurate, because yaoi I'm not going to trust to be an accurate depiction of like queer culture in Japan. But this was actually a gay Japanese person. He left Japan to go to college in Canada and the UK and got a really adorable English boyfriend, and they live long distance. And then in the episode, they like bring the boyfriend from England to Japan to meet his family, and like the family is like super awesome and like welcoming of the boyfriend, and like, but not just that, we also, at one scene they filmed that was a gay bar in Japan, and one of the hosts, which I can't remember her name, but she was adorable. She always dressed super bright colors and like cool little hair ornaments, and she was awesome, but I'm forgetting her name. She kind of explained like a little bit about queer culture in Japan, so it kind of gave an insight into it. So even if Queer Eye itself might have been putting a Western lens on it, she was there, and that specific episode was there to kind of show, you know, what it's actually like in Japan, which I was appreciative of.
Yeah, I remember I did read a article written by a Japanese person who actually was very critical of Queer Eye in Japan and pointed out a lot of things they did wrong. And one of them was, one of their main criticisms was that they had a cis heterosexual Japanese woman. And I mean, it's good that they did have a Japanese woman for the Japanese perspective, but they were like, you know, maybe, you know, they could have found someone who was actually like transgender or just not cis, not heterosexual as the Japanese guide.
Okay,
because,
that's valid.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the girl that I was talking about too. Yeah. I mean, I liked her, but yeah, that's valid. But that one specific episode, at least, like gave an insight because of the person they were making over.
I've only seen clips, and I've only read that article, but I do need to watch it myself. But
it's interesting. I mean, the one I found most interesting was the one with the gay man, but then there was another one with a woman who like works in like a hospice. She turned her home into a hospice, and she cosplays like secretly, and then so she has like a closet of cosplay, but like
that's cute.
It's so cute. And then another one was a mangaka who like just draws all the time, but like all her drawings was of her like being sad. It was like really sad. And then like the fourth one was just some guy. Like, I mean, no offense to him. Like he has a story. It was interesting, but like I didn't really connect to it as I did the other, or at least the one with the gay man. But that was a complicated season. I'm glad you read that article. I'm gonna go find that article because I do want to.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. Yeah. And then I just wanted to also say I haven't read it yet, but my lesbian experience with loneliness, or rather the new kind of part 2 of it, my solo exchange diary. Another book came out this year, so I'm super excited to read that, and I'm definitely getting it next time I get my paycheck.
And I'm sure that'll make an appearance in our panel.
Yes.
So
that one is definitely a good series because it's from the point of view of a lesbian woman living in Japan with mental issues. So, and it's all about her dealing with that. And like, highly recommend that manga. It is rated R though.
I remember one time we did our panel.
So
I had to put little black bars over the title cover to like hide the butt waves.
The butt crack in the nipples, Like, it's like, yeah, she doesn't sugarcoat it. She was like, yeah, I hired a female escort. And I'm like, oh, okay. And turn the page. Oh, yeah, she did. Okay. Yeah, High School Me would have not been okay with that. Me now is just like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Anything we've missed? We've covered a lot of ground.
Ooh, I can't think of anything at least that I've consumed recently. I know. Oh no, one thing. Carolyn Tuesday,
Oh,
which
I
is a
heard.
sci-fi series
Mm-hmm.
that I'm still trying to wrap my head around the representation they're trying to have in there, because there's one character who's like a mother, but is voiced by, I think, a cis man and is very masculine looking, and I think is supposed to be trans, but I'm like, I don't know exactly what kind of caricature, or if it's a caricature or if it's a representation. I don't know what they're going for here.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was that, I'm pardon the swearing, but then there was that song that was literally just the line fucking bullshit over and over again. Sung by the Mermaid Sisters, who describe themselves as neither man nor woman. And yeah, that was interesting because it's funny, but at the same time, I can't help but feeling like they were making fun of non-binary people with that. And then more recently, I watched an episode where they had a musician who was androgynous, actually, and their body was actually androgynous because of some type of, I think, radiation or something was slowly transforming their physical attributes. And that was kind of positive rep. But I'm honestly, Carolyn Tuesday, I'm trying to wrap my head around, like, is it, are they trying to, like, what are they trying to do? Like, I don't know if they're trying to be positive and falling flat, or they're mixing positive with like caricatures, or it's kind of confusing.
Emily, I think, is watching that. She was a guest in my episode about asexuality, and I'm pretty sure you know who Emily is. My friend, yeah. She's been watching that and kind of told me a lot of the same stuff you did, but this was back in September when we were at Skate America, so it sounds like, is it still going, or did they drop like an entire season?
Kind of. It's the whole 2 seasons are out in Japan, and I have a friend who kind of got me the hookup for season 2 has not been released on American Netflix yet, but I have a friend who was able to get me the hookup, and I have seen some of the season 2 with subtitles just because I was curious and I didn't want to wait until December. But yeah, it's Carolyn Tuesday. I'm complicated feelings about Carolyn Tuesday. Oh, and they do have a lesbian character, or not lesbian, bisexual character, who is briefly in one episode. And I do like it because it's like they don't make a big deal out of it. They're just like, oh, this is so and so's ex-wife, and oh, now she's engaged to a woman. Okay,
That's interesting.
that's so
I may or may not check that one out because I hear good things and then I hear the bad things, and I'm just. Do you think it's worth? Are the good things worth it?
If anything, the music is really good, and like I know I'm talking a lot about queer representation in it, but that's actually not really a big part of it. It's mostly about the music aspect. I personally think it's really good. There are just like the thing with the mother transgender caricature kind of thing. That makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but and then the Mermaid Sister song, I'm borderline. I don't know if I should find it amusing or find it offensive, but
oh lordy.
Yeah, I would say it's worth a watch, at least for the first season, but
maybe I'll put that on my list. Because of this webcast, my list has exploded. Right now I'm watching Star Wars Clone Wars. And then because of another episode we recorded, I have to watch The Good Place. And now I have to put Carolyn Tuesdays on my list. So my list is expanding thanks to all the guests I'm having on this show, which is great.
I need to watch it too.
You need to watch what?
I also need to watch The Good Place. That is also on my list. Yeah.
There's apparently a potentially asexual character in it.
Ooh.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if we don't have any others, I can wrap us up. So, first of all, thank you for joining us. And
thank you for having me.
Of course. And thanks to everyone who's tuning into the Queer Geek Cast. As a reminder, we're run off of donations by viewers like you. So please like, subscribe, and follow us on all of our social media handles. We are the Geek Yuri everywhere. That's TheGeeKiary. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, and of course the website, thegeekyuri.com. And most importantly, for donation purposes, Patreon. So find us on Patreon and help keep the main website going. Thank you all for tuning in, and once again, thank you, Dee.
Thank you.